Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we are live. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We welcome you from Prague and from New York because Lisa is currently in New York. So it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 o'clock CET time. So we are, live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So if you be so kind and put, in the comments that everything is fine. Yeah, we see already some of you, are there. I will check on my phone. I will check, LinkedIn if all is there. It's if it's
Perfect.
going well. It
And
looks like this.
I do have to say, I feel a little bit like Elon Musk, where he has his private jet tracked. I feel like every 2 weeks, you all know where I've jetted off to. I'm here, I'm there, I'm here.
Okay, it looks like it's live also on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Well,
Edward is saying that it's fine, on LinkedIn.
welcome,
So
welcome.
if somebody from Facebook would, ping us also, it would be great. If Facebook is alive. Yeah, here it's okay. Here we go.
Yes. And as
Okay.
Jan and I were chit-chatting a little bit before we got started, we were even talking about how busy schedules are getting. And I thought to myself, my goodness, what a perfectly timed topic that we're going to be talking about today. How everything seems to just keep coming faster and faster, more and more. There never seems to be less. There never seems to be this time for this self-care that we keep reading
Yeah.
about.
So let's kick it off. So maybe Lisa, if you can start. I have a lot of, stuff here. It was prepared by artificial intelligence. I have so many comments, and it was quite good. It was not that good, I must say, as what we talk about leadership. I must say that AI needs to learn a little bit, be more optimistic. Right?
Exactly. Well, and that's it, right? I actually think the reason I brought this topic up for our session here today is I think people are a little bit underestimating the radical shift that's going to happen with artificial intelligence. You see in all the newspapers, people are saying, hey, it's going to change. It's going to be like when the internet came. I don't think so. I think, metaverse, virtual reality, that was like an internet. We'll all find places to go, in different ways, but we still are together. Artificial intelligence is going to completely shift the usefulness of humanity. So I feel like it's very important because some people are going amazing,
Yeah.
jumping on ChatGPT. Let me figure this out. Let me go forward. Some people are burying their heads in the sand. I don't want to know about it. I don't know anything about AI. I'm just going to ignore it, hope it goes away, and continue with my everyday life. And some people are panicking. And I think that's the feeling of this is a crumbling world. It just feels like seismic shifts. It's like COVID-19 happened, recession happened, massive layoffs are happening. And now AI is happening and it's coming for my job. When does it end? And a lot of people are really struggling at the moment. And the truth is, the world is not crumbling, but your brain might be feeling that way, might be processing the information from this threat zone. And so, what Jan and I want to talk about today is really how do we get out of the threat zone, which is just your body's way of protecting itself from all this stuff that's going on. How do we get out of there and how do we shift to I can't control or change AI, but I can find the opportunity there. I can learn to work with it. And that is a shift within the brain. When you can control yourself, the way your brain reacts to threats, to changes, to ambiguity, to uncertainty, when you take back the power and control of that, you've got your life. Everything depends on being able to make this shift. So is the world really crumbling? No. Is your brain likely interpreting it that way? Yes, as a survival mechanism, but it doesn't need to be scary. So I know that Jan has a really big sheet of paper from AI that tells us how to be more human about this.
So it will be now from Jan, and later on maybe I will use some of the comments from AI. But what we know, and to follow what Lisa said, our brain is not set up to be optimistic brain, okay? Because there is something called negative bias. As a matter of the fact, that part of the brain which is looking for survival is 10 times, faster than your logical part of the brain. And it's called amygdala, right? And amygdala, unfortunately, is not, distinguishing between the facts and just some thoughts. Okay, amygdala thinks it's like monkey in the bush. Monkey is jumping from one thing to the other, and that's exactly what amygdala is doing. Amygdala is taking or potentially issues for you for your life, and saying, hey, this is it, this is what can happen. And if you will start to believe in your monkey in your brain, then you will never be optimistic, because it's just the thought. Majority of those things are thoughts. Stress in the past was mainly generated by external circumstances, like some big animals, lions, tigers, or some other people who are like threatening you. Today, stress is mostly generated by your mind. Okay, it's happening in your mind because you are managing your mind, or your mind is managing you. This is it. So it's called negative bias. But on the other hand, we have something which is called confirmation bias, which means that if you will say, hey, I feel really good and there's something great happening in my life, and we will talk how to do it, right? You will start to confirm it. It's like positive snowball, right? The same is happening with negative thoughts. It's called confirmation bias. So if you are pissed off and you are saying, hey, I'm even more pissed off, and those people are pissing me off even more, you have a really bad day, and you cannot change it. Okay, now what we know about optimism and positive psychology in general, because positive psychology is not only about optimism and positive approach towards your life, but positive psychology is about finding what is best in the people and working on those things. Okay, kind of the first pioneer, the real pioneer, was Martin Seligman. And when Martin, was elected to be president in, U.S. for the U.S. Psychology Association, he basically did inaugurational speech, and he said it was, 2000, so 23 years ago, and he said psychology is only 50% science, because we are studying what is wrong with the people. We are not studying what is right with the people. Okay. And he basically was, showing that there was 21 articles about human depression, on one article about human and human happiness. That was the ratio at that time. Today, the ratio is 15-1. So it's a little bit better, but it's still there. Now you can ask, why is that? Because those things which are negative, both in like social networks, on the web, in the media, people are jumping, unless you really understand how your brain works, you are jumping on those, issues. Okay. That's why I'm saying that probably there was more people dying from the fear of COVID as opposed from the COVID itself, right? Because, it was a huge stress, massaging all media, massaging your, brains. And especially if the people were like exposed to that, and they started to believe, hey, it's really something which is very dangerous. And it was dangerous, don't take me wrong, but I think we took right measures, and now it's just another illness, right? So that's kind of what is happening now. A little bit about positive psychology. The most attended lesson at the Harvard University in all history was positive psychology taught by the gentleman called Tal Ben Shahar. He is Jewish from Israel. He is back in Israel. It was the most attended, lesson. Tal is, you can, watch his YouTubes, and even some lessons are there on YouTube. And he wrote fantastic book called Happier. Okay. It was not called happiness. It was called Happier, because he figured out in his studies that happiness is not one point, but happiness is the way, it's the journey. Okay, that's why happier, sorry. And I love, there is a one picture, and I love it so much, so I asked him whether I can replicate it in my book, The Positive Leader, which is based on positive psychology anyway, and he obviously agreed, right? So this is kind of in a nutshell where we are, like studying optimism and happiness and stuff like that. There is a more and more people doing that, studying that, teaching it, what I realized that, even companies now, because they really face, there's a lot of people, with the mental, issues in the jobs. That's clear. And more, you see it. I had a dinner. That is a guy, he's a very good friend of mine, Cyril. I show, Czech origin people, they know him for sure. He was a president of the European Psychiatric Association. He's like 73, 74 years old now, but he's still practicing, okay? Cyril told me last week, we had a dinner together, and he told me that, after COVID finished, they expected that, depression would go down 30% up, as opposed to like COVID depressions. Okay. So which means that it's, more than the COVID. And that's why I think like the right approach towards, your life, because if you are optimistic, it's hard to be depressed, because depression is on the other way around, right? And optimism doesn't mean like, hey, you are losing some match, or, you are like screwing some deals and, oh, I'm optimistic. No, optimism is about, okay, I lost. I need to learn from it, and I need to move on. Okay. Because your mental toughness, one of the pieces of the mental toughness and your self-confidence is the fact, if you are able to overcome, obstacles, to overcome, hard situations, because more hard situation you can overcome, better neuroplasticity you have in your brain, basically, because you cannot. Today, one of my players, Nikki Bartunkova, she won, first, she's a junior, but she won the first, winning tournament in Sardinia over the weekend. Okay. And I asked her today, we were coaching like face to face, and I said, Nikki, you need to replay the whole tournament, because you really played very well. Okay. And she was like in two very tough situations. She was still able to do the turnaround. And this is what I need. If my players are winning 6-1, 6-0, it's fine. But like for the mental toughness, it doesn't count. What counts if they are like changing, if they play many tie breaks and you know what I mean, right? It's like that in your life, it's the same thing. So that's kind of in general. So, optimism and positive approach towards the life is also influencing how, successful you are in your life, right? Because it is, you can easily say, if you will, for example, like I am the guy who was basically brought up at the, village, very, kind of the, modest environment. Okay. And if I would, meet for the first time Bill Gates, and I would say, I would never be that good as Bill Gates because he's great, he's a great thought leader, whatever. No, I didn't say that. I was like mentally saying, it's great that I'm 31 and I can learn from the best people. I can work with the, you know what I mean, right? Doesn't mean I'm as good as him. No, not at all. But you are in that game with the best people. And that's what is helping, right? It doesn't mean, because otherwise you would foolish yourself. You are not that good yet, right? Right. And yet is the right word. I mean, Carol Dweck, she is the author of the mindset book about the positive mindset, the growth mindset, which is, by the way, positive mindset, right? She's saying that, and I don't know, I don't remember the school, but there's some school in the US, they basically cut fail, F, but they are saying instead of F, they are saying not yet. And that has absolutely different, meaning for your brain. Because we are giving some situation the mental sticker. And if you will say fail, I'm failure. If you, I'm failure because I failed. Not yet means, okay, I'm on the way. I'm not there yet, but I'm on the way, right? So I talk a lot. So
I love it, Jan. I get so enthusiastic with you. And I'm here with you. Well, and here's the thing, we all know this, and I want to help people to understand, okay, I know I should have a growth mindset. I know I should see this as an opportunity, and yet it's still hard for me. And I know exactly where people get stuck. And I want to make sure that it's really important for people to understand exactly how to deal with these fear emotions. I know it's very easy to say, just don't feel afraid, but your body is going to, if you're used to feeling afraid, your body's going to make it literally feel like you're going to die if you don't feel afraid. Your body's going to fight you tooth and nail to try to get you to not let down your guard, right? But you need to run your mind. You can't let your mind or your emotions run you. So when you feel it, you need a few tricks. Your brain's going to tell you, I can't let go. Believe me, when I'm super stressed and I try to meditate, the nastiness and the words that come out of my mind. This is a waste of time. Get up. You need to do things, blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely.
I know that that's going to come out. And I go, okay. And I sit with it. I don't let the emotions run me. I feel it. It's very uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable for you. Turn on classical music. You don't need to meditate, but you need a music that's going to help your body to naturally calm. Take a deep breath. Your body's going to tell you there's no time for breath. You have to go do it. Breathe anyway. Small things, because if your emotions, if you think of them on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being so strong, you're in a rage or a panic.
Right.
If you're an 8, 9, 10 high on the emotion scale, it's going to be very difficult to go to this, oh, this is such a nice opportunity, right? So if you have a very strong fear, let's say you're afraid of public speaking, or you're afraid of going up in front of the Bill Gates, right? And Jan has a great job of, he's already trained his mind to have a growth mindset. For those of us who are a little earlier on in the journey, the first step is just think of your emotions on a scale of 1 to 10. If you're like a 7, 8, 9, your only goal is to bring your emotion down to like a 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Once the emotion's down, that's when you're going to start to be able to enter in some rational thoughts. Okay, what can I learn here? Okay, what's the opportunity here? Have those things that can help you to make the switch in your brain. But before you can ever make the switch, you have to bring the emotion level down. Jan said it so nicely. I call it spiraling. One bad thing happens, right? And we spiral and we spiral and we spiral. Yeah. I often will say to people, okay, you're driving along. Shoot, you get a flat tire in your car. You get out. You're so annoyed that you have this flat tire. Do you take out a knife and slash the other 3 tires? No. But we do that with our emotions. Oh, yeah. One bad thing's happen. And instead of saying, okay, let me just repair the one, we find 17 other things that are terrible too. And we build ourselves into the story. One of the most important things that we do when we're feeling angry and stressed, we want to connect with people. We want to complain to people. We share it with our friends, with our family. And what do they do to be nice to us? They say, oh my God, that's terrible. You're so right. That guy's a jerk. I can't believe that happened to you. That feeds your emotional story. That makes you spiral more. Don't do it.
Absolutely.
It makes you feel good to connect with people, but it makes you spiral into your emotions. All of this is letting your emotions run the show. As Jan said, mental toughness, mental strength, you run the show.
Yeah, I will show you now one tool. How can you put yourself in the present moment and cut like negative emotions? Okay. Take your right hand and put it on your, belly, on your abdomen, and the left hand put it on your chest. Okay, now we will breathe in by nose and breathe out by nose. Breathe in, and like 2/3 of that breathing should go to your, belly. And the third part of the breathing should, only on the last, third should, move your chest, basically. That's the right. Breathe in and breathe out. Why? Because this part of your nerve system is called sympathicus, and that means that it's about tension. Okay, like you breathe in, breathe in out, you are like releasing that tension. The down part is called parasympathicus. Okay, what it does, it's like putting you in the present moment. You are cooling down, and even your heart rate goes down immediately. Why is that? Because if you do it properly, your diaphragm is gonna to move again. Because if you are pissed off, if you are stressed for whatever reason, or if you are fear of something, your diaphragm is basically fixed. You even like start to be like that, right? And your heart will start to beat, and your diaphragm is fixed. If you will move your diaphragm up and down, that's the signal for your amygdala that there is no more danger. The lions and tigers are gone, and you will like cool down. This is why if somebody is like pissing you off and you react immediately, that's the monkey reaction. and probably it will be very emotional, as you said, 9 out of the 10, or maybe 10 out of the 10, whatever. If you will breathe in, breathe out, maybe twice even, you will basically create gap between stimuli and your reaction. And this is it. It's called freedom of choice. It's the freedom of your choice how you will react in the particular situation. Okay. This is it. Because what I train, for example, my football players or ice hockey players, they are very often provoked by the other players, right? From the rivals. And judges are not, seeing the first foul, but they are seeing like the reaction. And sometimes they are like pushed out, and it's not, fair. But I'm telling them, hey, you should decide what should be your reaction in that particular situation. And that's the same in your, job. And as you rightly said, people think that, emotions are somehow fixed, right? Emotions are created, okay? Created based on the situations and the way you think. And it makes no sense to fight emotions, because emotions are, emotions, okay? But what you can do, you can take, that emotion, accept it. Hey, this is it. I really don't feel well, and I need to do some, activity to start to feel well again. And you may say, hey, this is the emotion created by my monkey, by my amygdala. So I may start to think about something different, because usually emotions are, generated by our thoughts, right? And our thoughts, majority of the thoughts are just the thoughts. They are not facts, right? Because if you want to really figure out whether your thought is fact or not, you may ask 3 questions. All like cognitive based therapies are based on those 3 basic questions. Number 1, is it logical what I'm thinking about? Number 2, do I have any proof for it? And number 3, is it advantageous for me to think like that? If the answer is like 3 answers no, then it's some bullshit bingo from your, monkey, right? And this is it. And the funny thing is, you will still have some negative thoughts, but I'm like half of my negative thoughts, I'm smiling. I'm like saying, hey, this was absolutely, my monkey, right? And this is it. Because it makes no sense to fight past, because past is past. Your life is happening now. You need to accept past, improve basically because of the past. So you need to learn from your mistake and move on. It's called karma. Where you are today, your present moment today was influenced by your present moments in the past, right? This is it. Your present moment in the future will be influenced by the present moments from now on, right? It's called, karma. That's for sure. And the only thing you can do, you can accept it. And you will not, you will not, if you lost in the tennis game or whatever, if you lose your job, okay? If you lose your job, it's not, we cannot, delete it from the memory. It's there. But what you can delete is this negative, emotional borders, if you will. Because if you say, okay, I learn from it, so next time I will be, much better. So it will still sit in your long-term memory, but you will not have that, negative emotional connection to that experience. And you will not suffer. You will suffer only once, when they fire you, right? If you will still go around and around like, monkey, and say, oh, it's really bad that it happened, just me and not anybody else, then you are a victim. And you will go, as you said, in spirals. And there's no, chance to be optimistic or even happy.
Yes. And Jan, you said it so perfectly. This is what people need to understand. Things happen. It's just fact. And then our brains make a story about what's the meaning of what happened.
Oh, absolutely.
I got fired is the fact. Yeah. I'm stupid. I'm not worthy. I suck. I'm the only one. I'll never get a job again. That's all story. And your brain is a prediction machine. If the story you write around it is it's bad, it's hard, it's miserable, I'm a victim, it sucks, it's painful, it's hard, then your brain remembers that and says, ooh, this is bad. If you look at it, you say, I got fired, this hurts. You don't have to say like, I'm fine, who cares? It doesn't matter to me that I get fired. Of course it matters, right? So we don't want to pretend we don't have the emotions, but we say, okay, I accept this is hard. I can do hard things. How do I fail forward from here? What do I learn? What are the opportunities? Where do I go? And then the story you write is, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
And your brain remembers that loop. So you have to start being very aware. What are your thought patterns and what's the story? Because the story codes for the next time what emotions you're going to feel in a similar situation. And if you keep coding fear into you, then you're going to keep getting fear results. Go ahead.
This is it, exactly. Whatever you learn or think about during the day, it's like, connected to the brain through the synapses, because those new synaptical connections are created, the new one. It is something, new. And it can be, kind of neutral, some learning, whatever. It can be positive stuff or negative stuff. Okay. And it goes like, during the deep sleep, you are creating new synaptical connections during the deep sleep. During the REM, rapid eye movement, that's the part of the sleep when you have dreams. You are connecting new stuff to the existing stuff. Okay, so which means that you may have in your brain some shit that you are not good, you are shitty, whatever, right? But suddenly you will go like step by step, and every day you will say, hey, I move a little bit. I learned something new, I was successful. I know how to do it in the future. And suddenly what will, happen? You will have that new stuff connecting to that shitty stuff. And there will be more and more new positive stuff. It's called neuroplasticity, basically, that you rewire your brain. So there is nothing like, I have like preset brain. I'm pessimistic by definition because my 3 generation, back were like all pessimistic people. No, it's a bullshit bingo, right? You can influence it, definitely, the way you think, because it's about environment, what you do, and so on. And it's the same with the learning, where, as you rightly said, story is playing the key role, right? Because if you will connect more and more positive stuff and create more and more positive synapses, you will create a positive story, basically, right? Because what our brain likes, context, right? It's fitting, like, hey, how my new stuff is fitting to the old stuff. Maybe there's a disagreement, fine, we will, overwrite it, okay? And more and more you will put that, you will have a better and better story. A. B, you will have much better mental stickers, because situations in our life, guys, have no meaning before we put some mental sticker to those situations. We have a hard data, right? US Navy, they told one group of the soldiers, this is threat, this situation is threat. The other group faced the same situation, and they were said, this is challenge. Okay, the first group failed, the other group basically cherished. They were doing very good job, because the first group was threatened, and that means that there was a stressful situation, a lot of cortisol. The other group was about endorphin and testosterone, and they were doing very well. And it's like, you may say threat and challenge, isn't it the same? No, it's not.
Wow.
Because each word you're using got some meaning, and it has really, it's like the mental sticker you putting to that situation. Because you may say not yet, which is, I think, great, and it's like, hey, I progress, but I'm not there yet. Okay. Or you may say, I failed, and I'll never be that good as a Bill Gates, right? Or you may say, it's great that I learn from the best. It's up to you.
Openness or closedness. I just want to say about writing these stories, and then Edward had a nice comment here as well. My daughter was just recently watching a video. She said, I had a nightmare, mommy. She watched a video about a girl who, when she stared at people, they would disappear, and she couldn't sleep because she said, okay, what if this really exists? What if I get this power and I make people disappear? And I said, honey, we don't know where they disappeared to. Maybe you have a superpower that disappears them to the place they want to go, and they're all sitting at the beach, having a beach day instead of being at school. And she went, oh, that's really cool. And then she went back to bed, and she had dreams about the superpower of being able to make other people's dreams come true. Same plot, right? But it was just the fear story. I made them disappear. Something bad happened. Or, hey, I'm doing something great for the world and something good is happening to them. These are the small things, and that will happen so fast, you will be unconscious. It's happened so subconsciously, you don't even notice that you're going for threat. This is why it's important what Edward says here in his messaging.
I will put it there.
If you'll bring it up. It's very big. They won't be able to see our faces anymore. But what's really important here is surround yourself with other people who think positively, because when there's negativity around, it is so easy to get sucked in, because by nature, your body wants to get sucked into it. It wants to feel threat. So it's so easy to be influenced, and we are social creatures. We are influenced by others. Anytime you can keep positivity, it influences you to stay positive. It influences you to be open and feel safe and think about other opportunities. Seek them out.
Yeah, absolutely. What Edward is talking about, our emotions, both positive and negative, are contagious. Okay. Because we have so-called mirror neurons. We are mirroring our, environment. I mean, if we would not have mirror neurons, it would be very hard for the kids to learn, because kids are like copy, parents, what the parents are doing, more or less. Okay. And if you have some people with the positive mindset, optimistic people, that goes like, it's contagious. Those, positive emotions goes to they go to the team. Okay. If you have, one or two people with toxic mindset, that's the same, but the other way around, unfortunately, right? And unfortunately, the negative thoughts are, faster than the positive thoughts, because that's the construction of our brain, right? So it is absolutely right to hire people kind of, I can do it, okay? That's the difference very often in Europe, we try to find out why it would not work or why we should not do it. In the US, it's still with, there are some, issues, but that entrepreneurial mindset, I can, do it, it's there. When I was living in Germany, when you bankrupt company, you would be almost pushed to the jail, and you would not be able to do any kind of set up new company for 10 years. Okay. Now I think it's like for 7 years. The bankruptcy law, basically, we talk about bankruptcy law. Okay. In the US, if you bankrupt, it's not good, obviously, but it's kind of, hey, this is it. This is what is expecting. 9 out of 10, startups will bankrupt anyway, right? This is called venture capital.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's some risk associated with it. It's not for everybody, right? And I think in Europe, we are kind of, very conservative. This is quite interesting, because if you take like dollars, the VC dollars per capita, the country with the highest, dollars per capita, the VC dollars per capita, is Israel now. Okay, they have a more, per capita. I'm not saying per capita. We are comparing apples to apples. It's much higher. It's higher, I think, like 25-30% than United States, and it's like 3 times higher than European average. Like, I mean, in the European country, obviously in UK it's a little bit, more. There are, some other countries, because this positive mindset, it has to do also with the entrepreneurship, right? Because when I'm coaching, those MBA students at in SEAT, they are usually the crossroads. Should I go and be with McKinsey or Deloitte or some, fancy company like Google or Microsoft? Okay, have a nice salary, learn. Or should I risk more? There is a more, upside if I will do something on my own or join some startup. And it's really about, your appetite for the risk. It is riskier, but there is a much more, it's more funny, I mean, usually I'm saying, hey, maybe you should mix it like 3-5 years with McKinsey, and then you can start your own business, right? Stuff like that. And obviously, not everybody is entrepreneur. We have different mindset, and that's absolutely fine. But I think this, like, positive mindset and optimism, it has to do also with the entrepreneurship, definitely.
Yes. And important to see here. So, for example, if you read the headlines about entrepreneurship right now, VCs aren't funding and funding's drying up and startups are closing down. It's very easy for you to say, I can't do it because now's not a good time because of this and that, right? that's not seeing the opportunity, right? So we can't change the world around us. We need to accept that. Acceptance is actually the hardest thing for people to do.
Oh yeah.
We aren't victim to it. It's not happening to us and hurting us. But we also can't change the global economy, right? Wish we could.
No.
So you just accept the situation is what it is. Don't waste energy, emotions on being upset. You accept it. And now what do I do within this? Right? And so that's how you start to take your power back. A lot of being negative or not being able to be positive is exactly this feeling of victimhood, is exactly a feeling hopeless in the situation that's happening around you. I couldn't possibly, it's too risky to start in a new environment now, right? That's because the fear of external things is getting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Stoics 2,500 years ago, they were saying it makes no sense to look at the external factors. You should look at what you can, influence, right? And it's kind of the, if you look, I think it's excuse to look at the external factors and say, hey, I will wait. Economy is not that great. Come on, right? You should play with the cards you have, right? There are some, good cards. There are some bad cards. But if the market is shit, right? A lot of people would say, "Oh, market is a shit. I will wait." Maybe it's a great opportunity for you because there will be not that many players at that particular moment, right? And you will be ready for that. Because I'm the guy. Like if, for example, as an investor, if the market is shit, I'm telling my advisor, let's buy more stuff because
Me too.
there's
it's
a lot
cheap. It's on sale.
Right? So you obviously need to have some cash, for that, but this is it, right? When Microsoft, when COVID started, Microsoft was like 140, right? And I got a lot of, stock, and I talked to my advisor. I said, buy, certificates for Microsoft because it will be back. Because I said, like, everybody will do like online, whatever, there's a great story they have about artificial intelligence now. It was like 310 or whatever, right? So in 2 years, not bad, right? So but you need to have a little bit, courage. That's this is it, and that optimistic view. And also, if you are an investor, it's not like, hey, I'll make a lot of millions in 1 week. No, you need to have this longer term view. Obviously, I'm like 61, so I'm saying, hey, I have a long term view still, but I'm probably less, or more conservative investor as opposed 30 years ago, right? That's clear, right? But still, you can do that, and and then you need to accept basically failure, because failure, if you do a lot of new things, you will fail at some point. This is it. My tennis player, Lehečka, he's like 36 now. He played very well, and now he lost in Madrid 6-1, 6-1 in 45 minutes. In newspapers in Czech, big failure of Jiří Lehečka. I got a lot of bad, Instagram messages like, you fuck up, stuff like that. Because I'm his mental coach, okay? And I'm taking responsibility for it. I have no problem whatsoever. We need to learn and, move on. On the other hand, the other tennis player, she won, big tournament in Sardinia in women, tennis, right? This is it. Because if I have like 32 athletes, some are winning, some are losing. This is it. That's life, That's just to learn and, move on. Was I pissed off when he lost 6-1, 6-1? Yes, for 2 hours. And then I was fine,
Exactly.
I went for a walk and,
You feel it, you observe it, you notice it, you're with it. We don't pretend it's not there.
You think that okay, because I was so many times, promoted Microsoft, I was president for Europe, that everything was fine. I did so many fuck ups, right? But those fuck ups fail, forward. You right? I put it down. Fail forward, right? Because if you fail forward, that means I failed, but I learned something new for the future, and I can, use that learning, for in the future situation. I tell you what, I think it's absolutely wrong to fire people who fucked up in the proper way, not that if they did something illegal, whatever. No, then you need to fire them. But if they fucked up and learned something, you need to keep them because they learn for your money. Understand, right? Because otherwise they will move on and they may go to your competitor and will say, oh, you know, you are very well trained, you know, and the money was spent by our competitors. That's great, you know, right? But we are very often so emotional. We are firing people if they are making some mistakes, and we are all human beings. You know, everybody is doing some mistakes, right?
Exactly. And you are exactly spot on. So we talked about this need for courage to actually go for it. And we have a note from Carl, fail quickly to avoid repeating this disruption.
Exactly.
We have to have the courage to, quote, fail. I just want to make it very clear, you will make mistakes as you go. So don't avoid mistakes. I said, Jan and I were chatting about an article yesterday from an NBA player in America.
I saw him on Instagram. Yeah.
Yes. And they asked him, they had an upset in the finals. They were expected to win and they lost. And they said, do you consider the whole season a failure because you lost so early in the championships? And he said, I'm sorry, Michael Jordan won 5 championships out of, 13 years or something. Does that mean not, or he won 9 out of 13. Does that mean 5 years he was just a failure? He's Michael Jordan. We aren't always going to win. Exactly. It's not always that result.
You know what he said to the reporter? He said, Joe, look, 2 seasons, we didn't win like the title, but the score was good. You know, where you promote it every year, Joe, you know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He said, well, did they give you promotion every year? And
exactly. You don't get promoted in your job every year. I don't win the championships every year. It doesn't mean it's a failure just because you didn't get that one result. And I loved that. And the way to build courage, because courage feels scary. So again, we're talking about working with the human brain. You're going to feel scared. You know you should be courageous, but it's hard. So think about your comfort zone. Your learning zone is right outside the comfort zone. And then past that is the terror zone. Do not feel you have to go to the terror zone. Do not be so far out of your comfort zone that it gives you a panic attack, right? Just take small steps. Do not underestimate how important these small steps are, because you'll actually do them. And as you take small steps and you slowly build your mind, remember, we're just trying to rewire the brain here. You do something small. It actually wasn't that scary. Okay, now I don't need to be afraid. I often will do a training for a leadership team about some of these topics. Maybe it's courage. And I'll say, okay, 5 minutes, find the person that you've been avoiding sending an email to, buy a book, get a mentor, whatever it is, was that thing that you just somehow couldn't work up the courage to do. 5 minutes, you do it now. Done. Not, you don't have to write to Bill Gates and ask to be his intern, but something but you do it. And then we all talk as a team. So how was it? And it's like, yeah, it was a little scary, but it wasn't really so bad. Why was I so worried about that? That's the feeling I want you to have. And every day I check in with myself at night and I ask myself this question: did you do something today that scares you? And if the answer is no, at the end of the night, I send off a little email, or I check in with someone, or I send a LinkedIn request, whatever it is, because every day I want to do something that scares me. 365 days a year, I'm stepping out and building my comfort zone. When you see Jan taking risks, it's because he built his comfort zone through all those steps.
Yeah, I do it every morning. Like when my wife is telling me, hey, you will do that, I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do it. So I'm always pushing back. That's why I'm getting one piece of corrective feedback in the morning, and the other one comes a summary of my personal failure in the evening, right? Even though now there is some detective story. So today probably there is no, corrective feedback session, in the evening, right? So probably. Anyway.
Yeah, so, one session we should have your wife and my husband come on.
Oh yeah. Now, what Lisa said, that's quite interesting, because in our life, usually we have like high expectations, but our reality is not there yet, right? And what the fear from failure is doing, once we fail, we are lowering our expectations. Okay, this is it. No. You need to work. You need to use failure to move your reality towards the expectation. You know what I mean? Learn and move. Learn and move. Learn and move. Okay. This is it. when I spent like 4 weeks with Tim Grover, Tim was, coaching for 15 years. He was a personal coach for Michael Jordan. He was saying that, weak people are doing this. Strong people like the masters are doing this. And the legends are doing this. Okay. They are moving
Ooh.
expectations. They are moving the reality. And that was, for example, Michael Jordan, Ronaldo, and other people, right? So, and I think you rightly said it's like step by step, because, for example, my friend Cyril, the psychiatrist, he's saying we should go out of the comfort zone like 4 to 5%. If you go more, then you have like fear and really huge stress, whatever you call it. I like it. I put it down, terrorism. So it's good. And if you go like really step by step, it's almost like going to the fitness center. Like you start with some, lower weights, and then you are like improving. And that's the same with the mental toughness, with your, mental fitness center, if you will, right? It's like day-to-day life.
That's exactly it. And all your goal is, keep it in mind, it's very simple. This fear spot, your monkey brain, as Jan likes to call it, is going to try to take over. I laugh sometimes. I'm like, oh, there goes me being human again, right? I just got triggered. That's that thing. Oh, I hate being human. And then create the pause. Take that diaphragm breath, close your eyes, whatever you need to do. Stop the spiral. Lower the emotions. And from there, choice. Where do I want to go? Right.
Yeah,
and you can, exactly what Jan's been saying, I can stay focused on my goal. I can, be present in the moment. So I'm not going back to my fear zone. The other thing that I would suggest for everybody, these are very practical tips for what to do. Have a mantra or a mindset that you have handy. When you're spiraling, when your emotions are high, you don't have a lot of access to this rational part of your brain. So just have a saying ready for you to help you get through it. I keep things like, it's not that serious. Nobody here is going to die, right? I don't cure cancer. Nobody's going to die if there's a mistake. Small things like that help me to stay focused, so that when I'm going, this is a big deal, this is a big deal, this is a big deal, it's like, oh, no, it's not that big a deal. And that lowers my emotions, right? So have sayings, have reminders around you. One of the great things you can do is say, this is a great learning experience. Did I make a mistake? Sure. Does it mean I'm stupid? No. It means I'm in the process of learning to be better for tomorrow. Cool. This is a learning process. I'm going to get something out of this. Cool. Sucks that I made this mistake, and there's an opportunity here, right? So
absolutely.
Keep making that switch, but have the sayings ready. So at that moment when you're spiraling, you don't have to then think, no, I should be rational. What should I be thinking? That's too much work for the brain. Breathe and have that mantra. Let go to let in is something I tell myself. Let go, let in. Okay, what do I need to know here? What do I need to do here? Whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm like, what do I need to let in?
Yeah, what you need to do, you need to give your brain signal that is like cut it out, basically. It's called mental jingle, right? Like, hey, this is it. Let's, move on and concentrate on something else, or something, which is a little bit, different. We have Fernando, our, friend from the Harvard Coaching Institute there. I don't know if Fernando is still there, but yeah, guys, we would be very much interested if you will, ask some questions or share with us some experience about, tough situations and how you overcome, overcame those situations, and what do you learn from that, right? Because everybody, I'm sure, got some learnings, right?
Yes. And as they're typing that in, I'm just share, a lot of people lately with the uncertainty around jobs are often saying, yeah, I'm positive, I'm optimistic, but when it now comes to safety, when it comes to money, when it comes to providing for my family, how am I just supposed to relax, right? And the answer is, stressing about it, having this uncertainty and worrying about it, doesn't change your situation. All it does is keep you stressed and stuck. So I'm not saying it's not possible that you're going to lose your job, right? I'm not saying you need to pretend like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Positive mindset has nothing to do with not living in reality. You
Absolutely.
need to accept the reality for what it is and see the opportunity. So when you say, oh, I could lose my job, okay, let's do some fear planning. What's the worst case scenario? I get fired and I have no severance. Okay, what could I do? Do I have savings? Could, we downgrade on the house? Could I get a new job quickly? And then you could say, okay, if I need a new job, okay, so what do I need to do? Do I have a CV ready? Have I started talking to recruiters, right? Take back power and control. Do not feel you're just sitting and waiting and don't know and stuck. Always feel the power. You can't change the situation, but you can rise to the occasion. That's the importance of staying positive in that crumbling.
Let me give you my own, example. I got, huge job at, Microsoft. And then after 22 years, I decided, hey, I'm going to do something different. Okay. But I knew that I will not be there till 65 years old, whatever. That's why I already at that time, I have like 22 or 23,000 people on LinkedIn. I have like 120,000 people on the different social networks, right? Which I gather like in 5 years, Instagram in 5 years, like 34 or whatever thousand people, 50,000 people on Facebook. Right. What I try to say, guys, you need to be ready with all of those relationships before you need them. It's very, because what Lisa said, it's essential, it's right. But if you will start to like find new connections, once you face this situation, it's too late. Right? You need to be. It's much better. LinkedIn is such great tool because it's always like up to date, and you have all of those, connections. And I'm still, even though I'm 61, I'm still getting some job offers, from the tool. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, unless you will give me like, $1 million US per month and helicopter, with it. It's
Saudi Arabia might do it. Don't say it too loud.
Even at that time, I would not probably take it. Right? But anyway, so you need to be ready, right? And it's relatively easy if you have some good job. It's relatively easy to create a network, both like online network and kind of the face-to-face network. Because, for example, I tell you what, I got a strong network in Microsoft. And network beyond the Microsoft I created because I was sitting in the different, boards, right? So for example, I know, Nani Bachale, who used to be number 2 in GE. That's my friend. He retired. He lives in Zurich, by the way, right? And many such, business leaders around the world, because they were sitting in the same, it was usually non-profit boards like ISEC International or Junior Achievement on Entrepreneurship, World Economic Forum, obviously, with Professor Schwab. And those were like great, places where you create, those connections. And then, for example, I tell you what, when I was like launching my first book, it was very easy to get some, top shots to write about the book. In the book, I have like on my cover, Deepak Chopra. I will now, he's coming to Prague, so I will moderate the session. We will do the panel discussion, right? And stuff like that. And so you need to get ready before you need to have those, relationships. That's the point.
That, Jan, is the key to staying positive in a crumbling world. Feel, okay, I am ready, right? I can be proactive. I can be creating. I don't even have to wait till a situation comes and react to it. What do I want? How do I stay focused? How do I stay creating? How do I stay relevant? I was raised, be so good, keep developing skills, keep networking, keep knowing people, but keep adding value to the point that if you lose one job, who cares? You got 7 others lined up because you've been so helpful, because you have unique skills, because that is how you stay positive in a crumbling world, because it's not happening to you. You're not a victim. You're not stuck. You always create options. And with options and opportunities, you never feel that threat in the same way, because it's like, okay, that door closed. Perfect. I'll just go through this door. And that's why some people, it looks like, oh my God, it's so natural. Why are they? Because they've developed this skill set of saying, I can go here, I can go here, I'm flexible, I can go here, let me build this network and let me move on. They see the opportunities, they build the opportunities. And Edward's asking us to forward the job offers.
Yeah, we will.
We'll forward them on anytime there's
to go. Thanks, Fernando, for being with us.
Yeah. And we love having these opportunities to share with you all because, in our one-on-one coaching, whether it's in the sports world, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in the music world, it doesn't really matter. For high performers who are human, not AI, we really need to work more and more with the brain. We need to work with the body. We have to start using the tools and the instruments that we have. So many people will tell you only mental strength. They'll try to give you a motivational speech and say, you can be strong, you can do it. And I would rather that you say, wait, let me listen to the body. What's going on? What's the message that my emotions are telling me? And let me work through those, because just mental strength at some point leads to burnout. You have to release. That's why we said parasympathetic nervous system. You can't have stress all the time only. It's got to be that balance.
In the past, people were like hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest. Now we are hunting, and then we have a depression, right? There was one important point, because sometimes there are people with really like top talents and great performance, great potential, but they are not able to perform consistently on consistent basis, right? And consistency, it has to do about renewal and recovery, basically how you can recover and how you can learn and recover and move on and again, because people, I think people are fine with the concept that you need to do physical recovery. Okay, if you run marathon, you need to do physical recovery, but some of us are running like 15 hours marathons every day. Okay, and we do not have any recovery. Maybe you have a sleep, but if you have a couple of drinks before sleeping, it's only kind of the shallow sleeping, and it's not obviously good, right? Because sometimes people, oh, I'm so tired, I need to do a couple. And I did the same thing when I was like manager. I was not drinking the hard alcohol, but I was drinking some wine. And what they figure out, Andrew Huberman is saying that alcohol is not very healthy. If you need to, you should drink in the morning. Basically, that's what I know. And relative to the recovery and like kind of the renewal, right? But again, I think I like alcohol. I don't drink. Like last 9 years, I stopped because it was taking so much energy from me. I said, no, I'm not doing alcohol, and it's fine, but I think if you have like a couple of glasses of wine, it's absolutely fine, and it's okay. But everybody should be aware, if you really drink like before the bed, it's not great for like your neuroplasticity, the way you connect the new stuff. And you have kind of the light sleep only. It's not great for the deep sleep, because you need to have a real rest, both like mental and physical. You need to have right amount of the deep sleep. Sorry.
Yes. And there's so much more to that as well. I often tell clients if they need to have a glass of wine to relax at the end of the day, I said, then you haven't done enough recovery throughout the day. And we need to build it in more, not that it grows and grows and grows and then you have to crash, but that it grows and you recover a little bit, and it grows and you recover a little bit, right? So that you don't have this high and this low.
You need to do like mini breaks, like mini strategic breaks. There's a great book, by the way, which is like 20 years. It was published 20 years old, from Tony Schwartz and Jim Lohr, Power of Full Engagement, about those four energies. It was called Kalokagati. It's not the new concept. It was in all Greece, like physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energy, how to work with it. And they, in a great way, they compare business with sport. I mean, I don't think that book is in Czech language, but it's for sure still in English. And it's definitely, if we talk about like how to work with the energy, sorry, that's probably book to read. I have some dry cough, and since like Friday, and it's like
Well, I'm glad we're not live because I don't want anyone else to get sick with that. But it's probably
No,
allergies.
I'm not sick. No,
Yeah.
I'm not. I
No.
did. I thought maybe it's COVID light, but it's not.
I
I
would
did
guess
the test, and
allergies
it's
have been.
nothing, But I don't know what it. Maybe it's from the how you call it, from the stuff from the flowers,
The pollen, exactly.
Oh,
So
yeah, pollen,
the
pollen.
allergies.
Exactly. That's I think this is it.
Allergies have been bad across the globe.
Yeah.
I do
Perfect.
want to say, because we're already at the end of our
Yeah.
time, if anybody has any specific topics they want us to talk about next time, throw it into the chat box. We are open
Absolutely.
and flexible to meeting your needs.
Absolutely. Okay,
Yep.
guys, thanks very
Thanks,
much for
everyone.
being with us. Have a great, week, and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.